Hello, welcome to the queue. We're back with Axis and Allies Stalingrad, and this is the board as it looks through the end of turn two. So we're getting ready to start turn three. I thought that was a good place to do an update um, because we're done with this not one step back, which was brutal for the Russians. On turn one, I thought it was brutal for the Germans because we only cleared one territory and we had to place all these contested battle markers. So I don't know what that is, seven or so. Anyway, um, why this no one step back was a problem for the Russians was in these contested zones, they could not retreat. So they had to stay. And then when you flip the card for the Russian battle, they're forced to fight in any contested zone. So the forces that were left over fought in those zones, and that enabled the Germans, to clear those zones. So, like I said, this was the first time I played the game. I didn't know what to expect, but that forced combat on the Russian turn in turn one really helped the Germans out, which allowed them to do some different things on turn two. Um, the one territory I avoided here was this Gromoslavka. I moved some Italians up. We completed the surround so that on turn two they were unsupplied. Um, Defending less, which actually helped because they would have had some hits, but because they were unsupplied, they got no hits. So we were able to eliminate this pocket on turn two, um, because I thought there was just too much to attack on turn one. We did take a severe beating here on turn one. The Russian counterattack was a severe beating for Germany. Um, so the Russians really looked good. Round two, the German attack, I added a couple units. They still failed. There was a substantial Russian force there on the second Russian turn. Um, they had to counterattack because of the no step back. Um, they didn't do well, and the Germans rolled really well and wiped them out. So this was really going to be a thorn in the German side, but now it's clear, and the next turn three, they're going to be able to turn south. Now I don't know. Like I said, I've got some forces along the top here, knowing that the Russian counterattack is coming. So I don't know what I need for defense and where. Um, but it looks like now on turn three we can start moving into the outskirts of Stalingrad. Now, none of those have any points. Um, what I am wondering, I've got this tank and mech. Can they blitz into one of these territories and claim some points? So that I don't know. I'll have to look in the rule book before I start playing turn three, because I know on the map you can blitz two territories if one of them's open, and these two are open. So ideally, I might blitz down here into this open territory here, snag a point for me to gain some cash, because these two are next to that ambush site, and it'll just be that mech and tank. So I don't want to lose any more high value targets. Like the target select up here, I've lost a lot of tanks. You can see the stacks of tanks that started are whittled down pretty good. So that's going to be a problem, I think, going forward in the game, because Germany can't get anything but infantry for a couple of turns. Um, and you'll notice there's an Italian infantry that kind of moved this direction. He was in this stack here that was completing, so they couldn't break out, and then I'd have to fight him here. Um, but after seeing how things went, maybe that would have been the better move. Well, yeah, because they could move and attack. So maybe that would have been the better move. But I've moved him here to this air base with these bombers, because there's a mechanic where these bombers can attack units or ferries, or they can transport, like an air transport, a supply token or an infantry. So I'm going to move that Italian infantry. And you may recognize that uh, rule from another game. we'll we'll leave the name out, but I think we all know where we first saw the air transports from the bombers. So um, that's kind of how the map looks like. I don't think. Um, I mean, Germany's going to come in like on round 3, but they're just going to be at the edge, and then they still got to go turn 4, and then turn 5 really is when they're going to get. I guess they'll get some units here on turn 4, but turn 5 is when they're going to really get involved here. Now, I did make a mistake on turn 1. I thought I'm going to get my supplies in and across before the Germans have bombers freed up to hit these ferries. But I noticed on round 2 that you have to start the Russian supplies at a territory with an airbase. So I had to flip those back and pretend like they were back here on turn 1, and then they moved up here on turn 2. So I just switched out some infantry that I purchased on turn 2 to make them as turn 1 and then come forward, which actually is going to end up being a pretty good deal, I think, because I really didn't think the Germans were going to get in here on turn 3, just looking at the map setup and the way things were. So they took a beating getting to where they are. So I'm wondering in the next turns to come if the Russians will be able to hold them off with ease. We shall see. I'll probably do another update maybe when we start Operation Uranus, which is probably, in this first game going to be 6 or 7, just because I'm playing, so I know what reinforcements are where. So I don't want to get too creative, on when we're going to start Operation Uranus. So we'll just follow the board, and I'm going to have to figure out about Operation Storm, if that's turn 10 or not. I still haven't looked at the rules for that. So there you have it. Through round 2, it looks better for Germans now. After round 1, I was really concerned until those Russians were forced to counterattack and instead of retreat, and that would end up being painful for the Russians. So we'll see how the rest of this game goes.